Right, we're going to look at factorising quadratic expressions, which is a thing that's coming up shortly and is really quite a useful skill. It leads to how to solve them, how to sketch them, and leads on to higher polynomials as well. You've been practising expanding brackets recently, so we're going to look at these four that you should be able to do quite quickly, and in fact I'd like you to pause, do them yourself, and then come back and see if you get the same as me. So pause now, and welcome back. So hopefully you have got the following answers. A squared plus 8a plus 15, b squared plus 5b take 14, c squared take 2c take 24, and d squared take 8d plus 15. Okay, now some of you might have got this sign wrong, but don't forget how to multiply negatives when doing this. So, warmed up, ready to go. Factorising then is about finding factors, and these two things multiply together to make an answer, so they must be the factors of that. Two things that multiply to make the answer is what a factor is, only now these aren't numbers, this is a piece of algebra, an expression. So, if we could spot some patterns here, we could make our lives easier. First thing to spot is these constants at the end are very easily derived from these numbers that we were given in our problem to start with. So have a little think what this pair of numbers here can do to make this answer, what this pair of numbers can do to make this answer, and so on. And you should spot that in every case this is multiplying. So this is 5 times 3, this is 7 lots of negative 2, 4 lots of negative 6, and negative 3 lots of negative 5. So this final answer, this final value at the end, this constant here, comes from multiplying the values. Okay? So, what about this linear term in the middle? What can I do with these two values in each case to get these values here? So those two make that, those two make that, those two make that, and those two make that. Can we spot it? Yeah, it's adding. So that and that, 5 and 3 adds to 8, 7 and negative 2 adds to 5, 4 and negative 6 adds to negative 2, negative 3 and negative 5 is a whole bunch of negative 8. So to get this value you need to add them, and to get this value they were multiplied. Which means we can work back now, as there's only two numbers that do both of these things, that multiply to that and add to that. It has to be negative 3 and negative 5. So we could now use that rule to factorise a thing we haven't seen before. Shoop. So, I need to find two numbers that multiply to that and add to that. Notice that I'm always covering the sign as well, that's important. It's not just a 24, it's a positive 24, that's a different thing, and that's important. So, thinking through our options, there's a lot of things multiply to make 24. Are there any that multiply to make 24, which, I've missed some symbols out there, which multiply to make 24 and also add to make 10 positive and positive. Hopefully your times table skills haven't defeated you and you can spot that positive 4 times positive 6 gives us positive 24, and positive 4 added to positive 6 gives us positive 10. So that means that b squared plus 10x plus 24 10x, clearly those are b's, otherwise this is impossible, it has to be the same letter, which gives us b plus 4, b plus 6, which is just these two numbers completing the bracket. And if you multiply those out, you will see that we get that. When it's all positive, it's all fairly straightforward. But if we now skip to something with some negatives in, we have to pay a little bit more attention to what's going on, but it's not impossible. So I need two numbers that multiply to something that also happen to add to something. The thing you can get wrong here, and need to keep the right, is get these the right way around. So which one are they multiplying towards is what you should be asking yourself. and they're multiplying towards the constant, which is negative 21, and they're adding to that positive 4. So 21 is 121 or 3 sevens. There's a negative floating around as well to bear in mind because there's a negative here. So something to do with 4 when we add and 21 when we multiply. 7 and 3 seem to fit because they're 4 apart. 1 and 21 can't add or take. So to get this negative 21, one of these needs to be negative. But this has to stay above 0, which means the bigger one has to be positive. So this has to be negative, which means that this becomes this pair of brackets, c plus 7, c take 3. And if you multiply those out again, you will find that you get this that you started with. And finally, this one will do a bit quicker because you've got the hang of it now. I'm just going to do this in one step. This is usually how you will do this when you get rapid at this. This is the normal expectation of when you'll be exam ready. Is what multiplies to that and adds to that. 35 hasn't got many options, so it's got to be 7 and 5. To get a positive answer, these need to be the same sign. To get down there, they've got to both be negative. And you can verify that in a couple of ways. What is negative 7 times negative 5? Well, it's positive 35. What is negative 7 take 5? Well, it's negative 12. And if you multiply out, you'll get the same thing. So you need to practice this skill by itself to get it down pat. It needs to be as quick as your times tables were 3 or 4 years ago. That's the end goal. So you'll do a lot of these in a row until you're excellent at them. And then we'll use it for some actual purpose because it's a really very, very useful skill. So, have fun with that.